The grunge genre is one of the most notable byproducts of Generation X. Known for its aggressive instrumentals and lazy vocals, the grunge genre juxtaposes the emotions of anger and melancholy, which provide a catharsis for an entire generation that was angered by what they perceived to be a sad state of affairs brought on by various social ills. Many of those social ills were often the subjects of the music, and among those ills were issues regarding women in society. It is not surprising, however, that such topics would come under scrutiny through the popular music produced by that generation, as the second and first wave feminism of the two preceding generations had set precedent for other more severe issues within the domain of women's issues to be discussed and addressed. As such, it is a fair assessment to say that the ideas of the past had greatly influenced future generations, and this is exemplified by the fact that the evolution of the ideas that were introduced by the silent generation can be seen in the art produced by Generation X, as is the case in the grunge genre. Feminist ideals, for instance, are encapsulated in the poem written by Georgia Douglas Johnson. This poem is entitled Heart of a Woman. In the first stanza right here, the speaker of the poem talks about the heart of a woman, which is supposed to represent the will of all women and its ability to persevere in the face of adversity. As it represents all women, the implication is that there are many women that share the same challenges, and this is intended to create a sense of catharsis for any women who may be feeling imprisoned in their own homes, as tended to be the case with some women in the 1920s. This sense of imprisonment in their own homes is expressed in this second stanza, especially the last two lines. This quote refers to the domestic life that women were relegated to, which, though it may have been designed to keep women happy, in actuality has made certain women miserable. Though this life makes the woman weary, she still attempts to vigorously escape and reach new heights, evidently gaining some strength as she seems to become desensitized to the pain it may take to reach those heights, what with her figuratively breaking herself to get free. Such sentiments are present in the grunge scene, albeit with respect to more severe issues associated with women navigating through society. An example of this can be seen in the very famous grunge band Nirvana's song entitled Rape Me. Have a listen. In this song, rape can be seen as a metaphor for issues plaguing women in more contemporary times, from violence against them to unwanted advances, etc. Regardless of whether you are interpreting the song as Nirvana referring to the literal act or aggression against women in general, feminist interpretations of the song, such as the ones discussed in Berkland's thesis, urges those who find themselves in such positions to not let it defeat them, and rather find the power to escape their situations and seek justice. Essentially, the influence of Johnson's ideas are present in this song that is representative of the grunge genre, as the spirit of Johnson's poem, which has to do with this notion of finding strength in one's suffering to overcome the obstacles faced by women, is applied to a different context within the domain of women's issues. Moreover, this sense of finding strength and knowing that one is not alone is also present in the poem, as well as the Nirvana song. As the heart of a woman in Johnson's poem represents all women, what with a woman being able to represent any woman, the implication is that there are many women that share the same challenges, and this is intended to create a sense of catharsis for any women who may be feeling imprisoned in their own homes, as they now know they are not the only ones, much like the refrain in the Nirvana song, which we will now hear from the voices of two women. I'm not the only one. 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 The repetition of the phrase, I'm not the only one, creates the same sense of catharsis that Johnson's poem was intended to create, but it was applied to a more severe issue within the realm of women's issues, thus being indicative of the inspiration from the ideas presented in Johnson's poem. As there is power in numbers and there are multiple people who share this sentiment, it provides a sense of hope in that it makes the reality of a movement for change more plausible, much like Johnson did for the Silent Generation. Of course, this more contemporary cover of this Nirvana song that was actually written by Gen Xers is indicative of the intergenerational resonance of the subject being explored, which may be why it is necessary for generations to draw inspiration from previous generations. Much like Johnson provides the woman of her time with a sense of hope that they can begin a movement that will result in them no longer being confined to a life of domesticity, Cobain provides the woman of his generation and generations beyond with a sense of assurance that they have the will to overcome different problems within the domain of women's issues, with those issues that are being addressed the next logical step in women making progress. As these generations continue to make art that is inspired by previous generations to effect change, they ensure the progress of the future generations that will draw on their ideas for further change.